and share my screen somehow. All right. So actually, before I share my screen, just a couple of housekeeping things. So as I mentioned before, Juliana and Kathleen are going to be here with us. Juliana on Mondays and Wednesdays, and Kathleen every class meeting. So these are your people. They're going to be helping troubleshoot stuff we have in class. So we're going to have some in class work time most days. I think after today, we're going to have at least 10 to 15 minutes of work time at the end of a class. So you guys can work through, what we talk about at the beginning of the lecture. So if you have any particular questions or, just troubleshooting stuff, they're going to be great resources because they are very SolidWorks capable. So glad to have their hands on deck. In the next couple of weeks, I believe Diane and potentially Ben are going to join us for a couple of lectures. To get familiar kind of with how we're conducting the class this year. They're aware that we're paralleling with Studio, so it's kind of exciting for them to kind of support in that way rather than how they've done it before. So main reason being, I'm actually due for another baby, so this will be number 4. Thanks, but timing wise, not ideal for me. So I was really hoping, just if the stars would align, if I could have it during the summer, that would be ideal. But end of March, so like March 30th-ish, I have a baby, another one. So I know last time I had most of you for a portfolio, also super pregnant. So maybe next fall, maybe I will not have this as a hindrance to my teaching. So yeah, Ben and Diane are going to kind of split the last kind of end of class there. Hoping to get back, within a month or so. We'll see. I have a couple, prior experiences, so I usually feel pretty decent after having a baby. Just relieved that it's over. So I'm hoping to come back and finish out the semester with you guys in class. So that's my plan. So Diane and Ben are going to be kind of on deck for, however they can support if I'm not able to be here. But I've also told them so far my goal is to get everything, settled as far as our schedule, how it's tracking with Studio, keep up with you guys and Jonas and Jason to make sure, we're doing what we should do in here to support your guys' work in Studio and kind of pass that baton on to them for just a couple of those weeks. So that's the game plan. So yeah, just why I totally forgot to mention it in our class last week. So there were so many other things to talk about. So I wanted to lead off with that so you guys know what to expect. And now I will jump into the deck. So how's the competition going so far? Decent? Is it fun? Kind of working with it. What is it? Oh, really? That's your feeling? That's just your gut feeling? Are you going to wager anything on that or maybe not? Get up here. I don't know. And I don't know how Martha got in touch with this sponsor. I have no idea. Really don't know. Yeah. It's definitely, I think she wants to provide, especially for each of everybody's 4 years, something totally different for each year so that it's not a repeat. Because I know some people struggled with the wearables last year and they're like, oh, something different, please, something different. So yeah, I think it just depends if it's something you're kind of into or not. So I think the idea is to give a bunch of variation in those kind of program competitions. So you get to round out your portfolio, do something a little different each year. So yeah, so this will be obviously the first time we're doing this. The reason and kind of idea that I'd come up with in having this share out on Friday is, it's a super simple like digital pinup. And when you're working on a large design team, I think the largest I've ever worked on is probably like 60-ish designers. So we would have a 2-hour block where everybody would just, kind of like a 1 to 2 minute showcase of like, hey, here's what I did last week. Not so much as like a proof that you were working because that's evident elsewhere, more so just keeping everybody like in the loop. If there's anything interesting happening on this side of the studio that you may not see, that either, can spark a discussion or, hey, I should think about that. So it's just good to see what's happening across Studio. Obviously, you guys will have Studio time to talk about your projects, so you'll have that visibility flexibility there as well. But it also will help me as I'm putting together the demonstrations, just to make sure what I'm going to show you tools wise is, mapping directly to what you guys are sketching. That's what we want to do, is kind of bridge the gap between a quick sketch and like how to quickly conceptualize that in SolidWorks. So want to make sure that I'm not showing you techniques that are not gonna work with kind of the general vibe and feeling of what you guys have sketch wise. So that is the goal for this. So if I can full screen it, just go. All right. So if you guys want to share, like, just, any quick thoughts you have, keep it to like 30 seconds or less if you have less to say. But yeah, Skylar, you're up. Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, thank you. Hey, how rude. They do not involve jackhammering, I assume? Okay.
Two are more like podium style. The one on the left has like the main like map up front, and then below would be where the grids go. So we'll go like, maybe on the back or the side. Pretty simple.
Cool.
And then the farthest to the right is kind of like another podium. Kind of the same structure, except there's multiple faces to the podium. So like one can look at different angles. And then that middle one's just like a shaded version.
Cool. See, this is exactly why, like, getting a good idea of kind of the structure of some of these as we roll through, I'm going to kind of be mentally tabulating in my head, how many of them are conical or, kind of a like stacked series of prism shapes or pyramids. So yeah, that helps. Cool. Thanks, Skylar. Nova.
The one in the middle top, that the board they had the west side. And then the bottom, middle, and the one on the right, have explained this. Because they were adding.
Oh, yes, thank you. Awesome. Next up.
So for mine, I was kind of inspired by some different building styles from my hometown, which is also a beachfront city. So on the top left was kind of like a little information stand with space for both the newspaper housing as well as a board where you could post the QR codes we're talking about, or spaces for notices or advertisements. On the top right, it's a little more enclosed with like kind of a sunroof made out of these alternating wooden beams with a place for a bench and then some more newspaper holdings bed in the wall. And then the bottom, I was thinking, because of the examples they give us, they're so kind of organic flows and shapes. So I was thinking of some kind of wave / ocean inspired shapes I could use. Like those, for example, are feet that I could use to hold something up.
Cool. Nice. Thanks, Jaden. All right, Jacob.
I was exploring different kind of forms, so like the left is kind of like a bigger one that's like more of like an information stand with different racks around it, and then on the right it's more like a bench circular kind of thing, and then top it's like more like kind of lighthouse inspired. It's like columns and sides like lights at the top.
Cool. Thanks.
These are just like quick sketches. The top right one is kind of a play on like what they gave us. I just pretty much added a roof. And then the left one is on a pole, and there's like 3 spaces to fit the newspaper. And then the last one's just a play on 4. staff.
Cool. Thanks. Next, got Mylana.
So the top two are kind of based off what they already gave us as well, so, just playing around with the form of that. And then the bottom left one is like a big glass front. I don't know how the organization would be inside yet, but maybe play around with lighting inside of it. And then the bottom right, I was kind of inspired by, I guess, like books, like on the shelf, except like one for each paper, I don't know.
Cool. So thanks. Sarah. Sarah up, not here? All right. Aiden.
So these are a few concepts that I made. With those like reference photos, I wanted to use like more natural forms, like waveforms, I guess. So like the first two are pretty basic. One's just like a tall like cylinder. And the other one's like a wave shape where media can be displayed and then you can grab it. And then I looked a little bit more into Virginia Beach culture, and I found that like local art was a big part of it. And back home, local art is a big thing. I'm from Asheville.
Okay, yeah.
And back home, we have like these stationary vendor booths. Like they're public. They support local business, art, culture, tourism. And then so the last one, I just kind of combined the two.
Cool. Thanks. All right, Jade.
Back, like flat and like standing. And then the other middle drawing, I was thinking of like, I was thinking of like actually fold the papers, and I was thinking like, you also like napkin dispensers in dining halls, it was kind of that idea. And then my drawing on the right is a bit more about like the shape of the floor that I was thinking of.
Oh, thanks. Elliot.
I was playing with very simple. I had like the newspaper racks, like sort of like in the middle level, so like other people are gonna like bend down and like the one on the right side of it, it's like a more permanent place, but like a magnet stay there, and on the left spot like as to
Cool. Thanks. Becca.
I personally really wanted to do like a vending machine. I don't think it much anymore,
Uh-huh.
but that's the first one, so that's one that there's like buttons, like go display the name of the publication, and you press the button and it like shoots out. And then like the screen would be some like finding or something, and then I like had like pamphlets on the side, for, like tourism and other things for the city. And the second one, I just wanted to look at a wave, just like felt beachy to me. And then the third one's also supposed to be like the vending machine idea with more organic, like peppers. So,
A slot machine, vending machine
Yeah,
sort of
but-
thing. Cool. Thanks. Jasmine.
I wanted to put in the read, there was. And I also wanted to have more of a vertical state, because I feel like for advertising, you know, my favorite thing is
Cool. Thanks. Abigail.
inspiration from some of the photos that they already have. So like the ones in the left, it's like a paper kind of just from like low to high. So, like, so they're talking about a lot of kids like to just grab stuff.
Sure.
So it's like, oh, probably shorter line what kids. It's just on the taller level. The side that, but like there's a screen. Stuff. And then middle one is just like a bunch of the boxes like stacked around. You'll find the way. And then the last one is just like stationary, but then it's like the same.
Cool. Thanks. Oops, sorry. Everyone.
So in the bottom left, I did like the fly through of the street, and I noticed that a lot of the sidewalks had kind of these curvilinear forms.
So I'm kind of experimenting with like what I want the footprint of the thing to look like. And I kind of felt like it would be better, like in my opinion, for it to be like vertical, kind of like a vending machine, just because I feel like it would be kind of annoying, like walking back and forth to look at the options. So I kind of wanted to do something like that, and then have like a pavilion over top of it, and maybe like a bench or like an area to like sit. Whatever. And then like on the left would be like the mechanism. It's kind of like the napkin dispensers in the dining halls.
Cool. Yeah, it's cool to see all those different potential footprints. We'll get into footprints for sure. Thanks. All right, and then Olivia is out sick.
I
Chip.
kind of want, I played with a lot of different types of, shapes, kind of, because I went rectangular and kind of organic and some, but I kind of designed all the forms based on the features that I wanted to implement inside of them. And I had like plant beds and seating, just because I wanted it to blend in with the surrounding area of the street view. And they also, the top left is kind of just because in one of their project 2030 or whatever, they're like, we want to incorporate something that kind of feels like another big cities like newspaper rack. So that's kind of the inspiration for that one. The other ones are kind of just more generic, like came to mind and sketching it out.
Cool. Thanks. Riley. Mm.
Still. You really think about a foot, so I was trying to figure out like.
Cool. Thanks. Oh, oops. I'll go. I'll open it up in just a minute. So I downloaded it because I know sometimes the screen sharing, when multiple people have it open, it gets a little wonky, but I'll go back to the real thing. All good. So,
The one on the far left, that was sort of trying to implement to like an already existing like setting, so it's a. Educational efficacy. The two on the right, both are, I'm intending to have some sort of display, with a different way of getting it. One on the right, similar to like a dispensers or like the napkins, like Rowan said, and then on the left, similar to like the trash cans we have outside that you can pull down, and then on the sides for advertising maps, anything else for.
thanks. So, hey,
Sure.
okay. I'll reopen it just a minute. Circle back to Sydney and Sahib. Jack.
So the left two are just two pretty simple concepts. The left one has a canvas awning, and then middle one, I saw that the city's like putting a lot of effort into the bike infrastructure, so it has like this very simple like stand or rack. And then the right one, I was looking at like the material palette that they gave us, and like two of the materials that stuck out to me were like the wooden slat panels and then the like corroded aluminum.
Cool.
So for my house, I was pretty similar to them. Different, because I'm doing boardwalk display, but for luxury goods. So all the designs I have out there, whether it's like users like turning on like perfume bottles are lifted, or like customers can try on accessories in like real time. And my goal is to keep the design like casual, so it's more inviting, but still keeping it like luxurious in some sense by using like acrylic or glass or lighting to make it like still continue on its like luxury look overall.
Awesome. Thanks. Yes.
Well, just trying to maintain a sense of cohesiveness with the rest of their plans, so I think some things I mentioned are like the bike rack design on the front and back, and then also just trying to consider include the city advertisements in the back.
Neat. Thanks. Hey, Owen?
So I was kind of just playing with form,
and kind of messing around with the material, thinking like, having I forgot how to pronounce it, like Kamar wood, hardwood that they had.
I'd never heard of that either.
And then, bench. Early thoughts.
Cool. Thanks. And Aiden.
I was trying to imitate some of the curves and forms from the other, like the benches and bike racks. And I was playing around with those wooden slats as well. I also like the idea of having built-in planters, because I was looking at all the plants they were planning on putting in, so. On the left one and the right one, you got a planter underneath on the left one that you can slide in and out, so it's easy for them to maintain, and on the right one, it's on the top. And for the last one, I was also thinking the napkin dispenser side, thing, and for the right one, I was looking into a pedal that helps open the door for like hands-free use. Since it's like.
Cool. Thanks. All right. I'm gonna go back. We'll get Sydney and say, hey, see, it like gets all wonky. The screen share sometimes and doesn't show them. See if I can refresh. Oh, duh. It's not the shared one. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. All right, cool. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to think about stuff that would like actually, like, cause I was thinking about how much those like newspaper things like sort of blend into the background for me. Like, I don't really ever think about them or interact with it. So I was trying to think about like what would like catch my eye and like make me look at the newspaper and like make me want to interact with it. So like maybe that means like the top left one's like a bench, and like in that awning it like displays the newspapers underneath, or like maybe something that's like built into the ground, like, oh, like what's this tunnel over here, like that looks interesting, or like an archway that was over.
Cool. Thanks. All right, so hey,
Mine, I incorporated a lot of curves into it because of the whole like wavy beach vibe. The first one is kind of like to the left, it's triangular prism on top of another triangular prism. The top one is upside down. It kind of supposed to like cover the bottom part, so kind of it should serve as like weather protection if it rains and stuff, and there's some newspapers on the bottom. The top part is a screen which like shows up weather and stuff like that, and yeah. And then the second one, kind of like a rectangular prism, has some newspaper slots, has a screen on the side, shows the weather as well. I incorporate also like maybe a QR code for like digital news or something like that. And the third one just kind of tried to make an alteration of the second one.
cool. Awesome. Thanks. I think that is everyone. So, yeah, that was a super helpful to see, you know, kind of the shapes that everyone's got, and you know, kind of helps me start to plan what I'm going to do in SolidWorks to kind of help support, because obviously you guys are going to have an example document that I'm going to make today after seeing all those, and then you're going to have to map, you know, okay, this is similar to mine, here's how I might go about building it. So I know this project overall is it's a rapid fire. It's kind of a, you know, a sprint to January 3rd or February 3rd. So what I'm going to try to do is rely less on, I know some SolidWorks training is very detail focused, very precision focused. What we're going to do is try to remove that as a requirement, because it's definitely not required to use SolidWorks. So I'm going to get a little more exploratory and show you guys how I would go about exploring form in SolidWorks. I think the first thing that I would do, and we only have 24 more minutes in here. So I'm going to kind of start at the top. So I have just this fresh install. I haven't done anything to SolidWorks. This is kind of how it comes out of the box. I know at least one of you has 2023, so it'll look extremely similar. So you shouldn't have any issue following along in that way. But for me, what I like to do first, and I don't do a lot of customization to like the menus palettes overall, but as you can see up here at the very top, there's a lot of crap up there. I don't find having stuff around that I don't use to be particularly helpful. So what you guys can do, actually, I'll say, show of hands, has anybody gotten it installed so far? Nice, very nice. I know there's some trouble. Anders, if that helped you yet? Are they going to help you? Cool.
Doesn't support.
Oh, dang. That's super annoying.
Exciting.
Super annoying.
Like just come to the senior student like.
Yeah. So I know this first week is just getting it set up and running. Well, that's our first big hurdle. So great to hear that some of you have got that tackled. I know some of you still have that yet to do. So hopefully by Monday, it would be great. I know this is Friday. It'd be great if by Monday, at least after class, you could still follow along, not having SolidWorks probably in class on Monday, but after that, you're really going to need SolidWorks because you're kind of losing ground every day that you don't have it just to get in and get familiar. So I'd really urge you guys to get that installed and up by Monday if you can. So yeah, sorry, that to go ahead and preface that I would first kind of clear my workspace. I like to get all the crap out of the way so I can focus. So up here, if you click on any of these, this is kind of your main toolbar. And I like to start over here and just go in and get rid of a bunch of stuff. So all that I'm going to keep are features. And that is big solid features, feature creation tools. And it's impossible to read. I don't know if there's a better way to share a screen where you can zoom in on particular things. Does anybody know of anything like that? Got Zoom for screen share? Me either. Yeah. Yeah. Sort of maybe there's some like, I don't know, secondary app that I can like a little little viewfinder. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true. So what I'm going to do is just clear off this toolbar. So up here, there's a whole bunch of stuff. It's a lot of engineering. So simulations, we're probably not going to do simulations. That's mostly for molding and for like static dynamics. So we're not going to do any of that. So I'm going to get rid of most of this stuff. So how I'm going to do that is right clicking and then going to the tabs. And you can see all these tabs are checked and I don't want most of that stuff. So I'm going to go through and you do have to go one by one, I think, and uncheck them. CAM TBD, I don't want that. I don't want SolidWorks CAM. I don't want MBD. I don't use any of that. So very, very similar to a physical environment. I feel like having everything all cluttered up really doesn't let you focus and it makes it seem way more scary than it actually is. So MBD dimensions, I literally don't know what that is. I'm not going to use the markup tools. I don't find those particularly helpful. Add-ins, I don't think we really need add-ins either. Not right now. So I'm going to get rid of that. So already it's a little bit simpler. One thing I'm going to add, so we have a sketch panel here, a features panel, and the one thing that we're going to be using is surfaces also. Surfacing, I know, is another thing that sounds kind of intimidating and scary, but using a series of solids and surfaces together, I think is the best case scenario for industrial design because there is, a combination of, you usually want to have flat surfaces and curved surfaces to be able to control the aesthetic and the form that you are shooting for. So I'm going to go to tools and options. And I believe if I go in here. Here, we're just gonna cancel that. Actually, I'm gonna try to do this one first. So features, sketch, surfaces, I'm just gonna select it here. So similarly, you can look through all of these. Mesh modeling, I think is a little more, it's like the, you know, the NURBS kind of push and pull, or the sub D push and pull, I think. So we can do that a little bit later on, but these are the four I would suggest you keep over here: features, sketches, surface, and evaluate. So those are the four we're going to be working with. So you'll see over here on the left side, this is kind of your history tree and features tree. Right now, all we have over here is kind of some sensors. I don't use that, so don't really care about that. Annotations I don't use. So really, you're going to be looking at planes. And once we start to build things, they're going to be solid bodies and surface bodies all collected over here. And I think the really powerful thing that SolidWorks has is a tree that makes everything very clickable and accessible. I know in Rhino, like organizing everything into folders is a task all of its own. Everything you do in SolidWorks has a history component, so it remembers the feature you did and how you created it, so that it makes it much more editable. So you are going to come to love this panel over here on the left side. So you'll get to know that. I will just go ahead and start out with planes. These are going to be your best friends, and that is because by knowing what planes you are starting to sketch from, you're going to be able to plan your build and do some interesting things with it, like only building half of an item at once and then mirroring it, so you don't have to do double work. So every time you make an adjustment on one side, similar to Rhino, you can mirror it over a plane, either, you know, up, down, left, right, with ease. So it makes it a lot simpler. So you can just build half of something if it's a symmetric item. So these planes are fantastic. So we're going to start on the top plane, and I'm just going to go through a couple just quick shapes in sketch mode and kind of show you how I would set that up. So you will see a red cursor right in the middle, and this is telling you where that center plane or the front plane and the right plane kind of align. So that's your origin, that's 0. Yeah, go for it. Oh, sorry. So this is SolidWorks, like just as it opens. I think I maybe already had a part open, but let me escape out of that so that I can show you what that screen looks like. Good point. Thank you. Sorry. Don't save. We haven't done anything. So that should be all say, like those adjustments we made aren't just in that part file, that should be in your kind of workspace overall. So Sahib was right. This is what you see when you open SolidWorks. So it's just nothing's happening. So we're going to start just making simple part files. There are assemblies, but we're going to start with a multi-body part. So you're going to be building in one file. To me, that's the easiest way to conceptualize and just kind of keep it simple. So for this, we're going to do new and just a part and hit OK. So that brings us back. Hey, analysis preparation. I don't want that. So I don't know how that snuck back in there. I don't want that. So I'm going to make it go away again. So yeah, we're back to features, sketches, surfaces, evaluate. So it keeps it nice and simple. So you're right. So now we have opened up a part file, and that's what we're going to be working in for the first parts of class. So yeah, does that work? You got it? Now it looks the same. Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. All right. So top plane. Like I said, the origin, that's where you're going to want to center everything, just for familiarity reasons. So one thing you can do is start by sketching a couple of lines. So up here in the top, you can see when you have entered a sketch. So I'll go back and show you how to do that again. You'd pick a plane, any plane. So you just select a plane. I'm going to start on the top plane and hit the sketch button up here in the top, and that is going to start a brand new sketch on that plane. If you don't have a plane selected, it will prompt you to select a plane. So we're going to have top plane selected, enter sketch mode. So then it brings up that toolbar. So now you can see all the tools. And before you started a sketch, you couldn't really see any of the tools. They weren't blue, they were kind of grayed out. So now you are in a sketch. These ones that they have pre-selected for you here are not all of the sketch tools. They're just the most commonly used. So one thing that I like to do, and I know I did when I was first learning SolidWorks, is just kind of read these blurbs and try to, you know, assign, like in my mind, what that icon looks like and then what I can do with it. And that'll become a little easier as you've used the things for a while, but you can kind of hover over any of these and it will tell you, what it does. It has a little GIF over there showing you how that sketch tool works. So if you leave it on there for a minute, obviously circle's pretty pretty easy to understand. But yeah, I would spend a little time just looking through the different tools that they have available so that in your mind, as you start to sketch something, you have some familiarity with, oh yeah, I saw a tool that I think might do the thing I want. So in here is mostly a series of, you can do lines, splines, very similar to Rhino. Although I find the control features in here for some of the splines a little bit easier for me to manage. I know I had a tough time managing splines in Rhino, especially if I wanted to use it again or adjust it in some like measurable-ish way. I found that difficult. So I feel like these sketch tools are a little more easier, a little easier to understand for me. So yeah, the simplest one is a line. Sometimes just for my own sanity, oops, I don't want a spline, I want a line. And you'll see if you hover over it, you'll see that little spline icon come up again. So if you forgot how you created something, sometimes that tool, if you have it up on screen, so you have spline selected, so you see my cursor now is a pencil and a spline, not a line, which is what I want. So right now I have a kind of a straight line and that pencil, so that's what I want. So you can, start sketching. If you right click and, let's see. So I also know all my shortcuts. So I'm trying to get a shortcut display tool downloaded and approved by Virginia Tech, but it's taking a minute. So L is the shortcut for line. They have a lot of really nice shortcuts that you will over time get used to. But another one that I didn't learn about till years down the road is S, and that is shortcut. So if you're in feature mode, sketch mode, surfacing mode, if you hit S, there was like, it's a hotkey and it brings up all these little sketches right here. So you don't have to drag your mouse all the way over here. It's not far, but I find it very useful. So if you guys have SolidWorks open and have it in a sketch, just hit the S key and it'll bring up, I think the last tool you were using. But if you hit S, it'll give you all those ones right here and a little search command tool. So similar to Rhino, if you don't have something easily accessible on your toolbars, you can search if you kind of know what the name of it is. It's a pretty good search feature that'll help you find something that you are looking for. So that S key is fantastic. It was probably only like 3 or 4 years ago that I learned about that. So huge bummer for me. Hopefully you guys will get more use of it. So the reason I keep sketching these lines, and I'm just hitting L, you hit the start point, hit the end point, and it'll continue on. If you just, drop a dot, it'll stop it for you. Oops, now it's going to that. But you can either hit escape to stop that tool, so now you have your cursor back, or you can right click and it'll allow you to get out of that. So you can do that, right click and hit select, and it'll go back to kind of selection mode. So what I like to do is, if I'm going to dimension something, a lot of times I will make some guide curves, or at least guide things. So let's say I want to make a shape. I'm going to kind of, almost like I'm drawing it on paper, and I'm using these sketch tools as guides for the shapes that I want to make. You'll get used to these too. All these right here tell me this is either a horizontal or a vertical line. They don't have to be. So this is almost like it's telling you what constraint it has. You can hit that and delete it. And now it can be any angle. Same for this vertical one, although I want it to be vertical. So the features for defining like lengths of lines. So if you're going to want to scale this, I know I said I wasn't going to get too technical, but this is something you can do, especially with, the size kiosk you guys are working with. You probably have an idea of, is it 5 feet wide total, 3 feet or 3 feet wide, 5 feet long, 8 feet tall. You kind of want to work off of those general parameters so that when you go to sketch and put in a handle, it doesn't look ridiculous. So one thing I owe you guys is to put a human scale that I found online in the resources folder, so you guys can kind of pop that in here and see it as you're building. So what I'm going to do is kind of make a curved shape, starting with, get out of there, a tangent arc. So it's another one I really like in the sketch array. So it makes it tangent. Right now you can tell it's not tangent to the blue line really, or the black line. So one thing you can do in here is if you just want to make things tangent, you click them both, right click on them. So I have them both selected, I right click, and there are different features here, different specs that you can add. So make tangent is a big one that I like. And you can see this is not supposed to be horizontal. I don't want it to be horizontal. Nice thing is, you can just try again. So none of these are really linked together in any way. So I'm just going to right click to select my straight line and this other little line. And so you'll get to know these a little bit more. This is the dimensioning tool. So right here, smart dimension. So hit two things and it will give you options for, I don't want that. I want to define an angle. It's making it seem harder than it is. All right, so I don't know, 115, some angle, some random angle. And usually when I'm putting in dimensions for the first time, I'm just trying something random and seeing if it looks good. If the math in my head, at least I'll try, 115, 120, see if that's what I'm shooting for. And then, no. Wow, this is just seeming more and more complicated. It's really not. So S key again, smart define. So all I'm trying to do is give, I will do 120. A little bit of rationale to the shape that I'm going to build right here. So, and did that. Now I'm just still kind of sketching a shape, but if I decide I want that to be a particular angle, it can be. Now you'll see something interesting has just happened, and that filled in with blue, and that tells me it's a closed contour, so it's not doesn't have any open ends. So usually it'll tell you that because most people build SolidWorks in solids mode and prefer that. So that's inches. Yeah, that's silly. Okay. So what I should have done very first was kind of get this to the scale that I'm thinking. So this is kind of where we started talking about footprints a little bit. You can take any of those footprint sketches and just get started here. So now I'm just going to show you what this looks like extruded without any dimensions on it. So you got this shape. As soon as you hit extrude, it's going to take it to that like 3/4 view, so you can kind of see what's happening. And this is a feature. So boss extrude, boss is a feature, very similar to how the solids are created. You can push and pull them like in Rhino, and it will tell you how tall it is. You can define that. So we're just going to go a little bit taller because I'm going to mirror this so we can see what that looks like. So boss extrude. And let's say that I want this part to have a little chopped off edge. So chamfer, those are fantastic. Right now you can see I'm in inches mode because I know we're kind of dealing with like inches and feet. We'll move on to some different measurements later on, but you can see it's really small. Why don't you want to chamfer that? Oh, so right here, in this bar, every time you pick up a tool or start using a tool, it'll have all these parameters. Those also seem really scary. There's a lot going on there, similar to Rhino. But I had it in no preview instead of full preview. So full preview will give you a much better idea of what it might look like. So you can see it's tiny. That chamfer is not going to do anything for me. So down here in the parameters, it'll be distances and angles. So I'm just going to start bumping that up to, I don't know, this much. All right. So something's happening. We're taking shape. The great thing is, as you move on, you can go back and edit really easily any of these dimensions without a lot of pain and suffering or having to copy and paste and kind of start a new feature, which I found I had to do a lot in Rhino, or just kind of make do with what I had. So I think that's my favorite thing about SolidWorks is how easy you can change things around. So we'll get a little deeper into this as well, but order of operations is super important in SolidWorks. So right now I'm looking at those. I'm like, okay, so if I wanted to round off these corners, I would do it with a fillet. So again, this is now that I have a solid, it's showing all of these solid tools that I can apply to that. So here's a fillet. Again, it's kind of small, so I'll go on my parameters down here. Increase those, decrease those, whatever you want to do. But the reason order of operations is so important is if you have an idea of, okay, what's the biggest change I want to make, and then make smaller changes after that. So this face, adding that chamfer gave us this kind of laid back shape. Adding these fillets rounds off those corners. And then you can go back, select chamfer again. And now that's going to be too large, but if you make it smaller, now you can add this one. And if you can drag these around and reorder those features, and you'll see that you get a much different result if you use them in that different order. So now I'm going to show you the mirror tool. And so now we have a shape, and I told you we were kind of building in halves. So we have 2 more minutes. So this is kind of perfect. I'll just, show you a simple boss, a couple of things you can do to it, and then a mirror feature to save you from having to do that on the other side. It's really just adding a chamfer, but so you can either select the plane that you want to mirror around. So that right now is the right plane. So you can select the right plane, and it's also a feature. It sounds a little confusing, but mirror is a feature that you can do to it. Same for, you can make patterns, revolving items around a central axis, or making a pattern of a lot of them. But right now we're just going to do a simple mirror. So you select that plane, and then bodies. So you're mirroring a body. You're not mirroring a face. So you're going to mirror that whole body. So it'll be down in this selection mode to select your whole body. And then that's pretty much it. You could either merge the solids, which is the automatic selection, or you can keep them separate. I'm going to go ahead and merge them here. So yeah, pretty quickly, you've gone from just this simple shape, and with no other, really sketch input, you've given it some character by using some of those simple features to give it a little more shape and start to carve away at it. So when I'm looking at some of those sketches you guys had, I almost look at, okay, what's the base form? Do I want to extrude from the ground up, or maybe to the side? And we'll get into some of those more curvilinear shapes, like the benches, in a tutorial I'll put together for you guys. But I just want you to, over the weekend, there's no assignment associated with this, but try to get some of your sketches just, beside you, and sketch some of those footprints, and try to extrude, do a boss extrude to it, and see how far you can get. We'll get into a lot more features next Monday, and I'll have some human scale for you to work with. But yeah, roll back in the history tree. You can roll back to the beginning, edit stuff, and roll forward. So it's fun when you don't have the pressure of screwing something up. So this is not something you can screw up. Just get comfy in there and try to make some shapes. That's it for today.